Alright guys, welcome to the channel. My name is Jack Delaney. I'm the owner of Black Dan Barbell. And today you probably saw this pop up on your social medias, your Instagram, Facebook, whatever. And I've told you to come to this video so I can break this down a little bit more because, you know, Instagram, it's just fast paced. It's something just to grab your attention and then bring you into something so I can educate you around why I said what I said. Or for someone out there who's going, this is fucking bullshit. You know, breaking this down will allow you to see what I see, and then you can make a logical decision based on that. So 3 ways to bench a personal record, right? And this was from someone like myself who I hadn't benched a PR in somewhere between 2 to 3 years, and I was just fucking over it. So back in 2022, I say back in 2022, today's only the 11th of the 1st, 2023, I ended up last year, hit a 12.5 kilo PR on my bench press, which was, you know, for someone who has a personal best in fucking 3 years, it was great. It was really good doing. I benched 162, very minimal pain at the time because I'm someone who suffers with shoulder and elbow issues like a lot of powerlifters do. And it was because there were a lot of reasons, but I'm putting down one of the main reasons was because I was benching at a higher frequency. And a lot of you back, like myself back in the day, I reckon you're benching twice a week. You'll have your main bench day and then you'll have your accessory day. Main bench with back offs, dumbbell pressing, all that good jazz. Then you'll have your accessory day, most likely either a close grip or a tempo with back offs, dumbbell pressing and shoulder pressing and lat pull downs and tricep push downs. Sound familiar? I was doing all of that as well, but what I was also doing was benching on my squat and deadlift day. Now, sometimes it's hard for people to understand this, and because, you know, I was always given 2 days a week to bench from. It was just like the norm across the powerlifting industry. With all of my coaches, I would have, you know, my main bench day on Wednesday and my accessory day on a Saturday. So when I went over to Tom Haynes at Perform Motion, doubled my bench press frequency, and I thought, this guy's fucking nuts. I'm getting like this pec pain and shoulder pain and elbow pain, and he wants to add more bench to this. And he said, trust me. And I did. I followed the fucking process. And like I said, voila, I got a 12.5 kilo PB. Now, some of the things, which I'm just going to pop up here, I like doing this, by the way, is the variations which he gave me. Now, there are a lot of variations out there that you can do for your bench press. Some work really well. Some I'm not a fan of, but probably still do work well. But the ones that were my personal favorite, which I saw big bang from your butt from, was Larsen pressing, 3-second pause, tempo bench press, and then some close grip. I really like close grip because I have to do board close grip. I find I get a lot of great contraction of my triceps on there. But towards the end, I started to Tom and myself started to bring that out a little bit so I could replace it with more either Larsen pressing, 3-second, or tempo bench pressing on there. So each variation provided me a different stimulus, and the way it was made up and how I kind of want you to think about your benching at the moment is awesome. You're adding more frequency, right? But you can't just do normal powerlifting bench press, squat, bench, dead, and an accessory. You can't do it all the way through the week. Like, chances are you end up getting beaten up. You can't just do, say 3, 4, 5 by 5, because that volume for most people will just fuck them up after about 2 weeks as you progressively overload in weight, or it'll just get too confusing. But by adding in Larsen pressing, I'm pretty sure I don't have the program on my computer anymore, unfortunately. I'll see if I can pull this up before this gets edited. But I'm pretty sure I was doing Larsen pressing on my deadlift day, and I was doing 3-second pause on my bench day. On my squat day. Now, the reason for this is, I'm going to just give you a quick breakdown. Let's say Monday I was doing 3-second pause at an RP 7 for sets of 5 and it was mainly just 3x3 or 3x5. And that was to work on, holding position at my chest, making sure that I wasn't rounding through my shoulders or my neck was coming off the bench press, and making sure my bar path was effective, right, for myself. That RPE with that kind of frequency and volume was enough to make sure that I wasn't fatigued before my main bench day, which was on a Wednesday, and I would perform, which I'm going to pop up on screen now, hopefully, with top sets. We would utilize top sets on my Wednesday. So it'd be, say, a top set of somewhere between an RPE 7 or 8. Maybe we would push a 9 if things were like really gaining momentum with percentage back offs. So on that Monday, I was still able to train like the technique wise, like the skill of having the barbell paused on my chest, making sure there was no breakdown or fixing the breakdown that was happening without the fatigue. So when I came into my main bench day with a top set with percentage back offs, I'd usually keep my top sets anywhere between like RPE 7 and 8 for 1 to 3 reps with percentage back offs depending on how heavy I went on the day. And it's a great way for doing the top sets to practice the skill of lifting heavy or lifting quite close to your 1 rep max. But you don't want to think of like top sets as always fucking maxing out, right? It is a great way to like tick boxes in your head as like, powerlifters and strength enthusiasts. We love to still have something heavy in our hands. We don't feel like we're progressing unless we have something heavy in our hands. So to tick that box, especially as a coach, I know Tom done the same with me and I do the same with my lifters, especially if they're like someone who needs to fucking feel something heavy in their hands. Tick the box for them to get them to lift something heavy. And then give them percentage back offs to just train that movement still. And then I believe on the Friday, I'd have my main deadlift day, and then I would use Larsen pressing as my accessory on that day. Again, just working on my upper body position, making sure that my shoulder blades were pulled back and down, my neck was nice and flat, and I was getting as much expansion through my rib cage as I could. Because we noticed that my leg drive was fine. I went from having my heels up to having my feet flat, but it just felt very natural for me, and it clicked quite easy. It was just my upper body that would just fucking move all over the place. And also just on that, Larsen pressing, fantastic way to see if someone is using leg drive efficiently. I've seen people before, they can't break their PR, and I'll have a watch of their main bench with their feet on the floor, feet flat, or heels up. And I'll get them to do a Larsen press, and I've seen it many, many times. For example, let's say someone can bench 100 kilos, but they can't get past that. But then their Larsen press would be like 90 or 95. So I'm like, maybe your pressing power isn't the problem. Maybe it's your like leg drive. Like we need to see is it doing its job? Are you creating enough force with enough direction to make sure that you're keeping the weight back and so it can hold the position? Like it's basically the foundation of the bench, right? Using your legs to keep everything pushed up and back so you can hold that nice high rib cage without flattening out or your hips coming off the bench. So again, see where your Larsen press is at. For me, my Larsen press was quite a big gap away from my main benching. So I would do I was normally working around the 125 to 140 for Larsen pressing for somewhere from 1 to 3 reps. And then on my accessory day, we would pick one of those 3, maybe a bit of close grip, and we were getting a lot of volume on that day. So you can see how, now just kind of giving you a bit of an understanding of how you could bench 4 days a week, using different variations, but not just picking them out of your ass, choosing them to work, to find out what's going on in your bench press, at those top end numbers, and then using things like pausing, tempo, Larsen pressing, etc., as a way of reinforcing the position that you're after at those top end sets. Like I say, for me, my leg drive was very efficient. It was just my upper body that was just causing all sorts of havoc. As I'm just rolling through this here, you'll see that the RPE of 6 to 8 over a few weeks will help you build momentum and confidence between training blocks. Now that's so fucking important. People are willing to, gradually build up on their squats and their deadlifts, normally because they're like working at high numbers. They're squatting into the 100s, 200s, and doing the same with deadlifting. So they need that because it's quite fatiguing. But with bench press, it's not as fatiguing as them both. So I see a lot of guys, and mainly guys to be fair, and some women, who would constantly overshoot or try to max out constantly because they're seeing RPEs of like 8 to 9, and they think, oh, that must be like, somewhere, 10 kilos, 15 kilos off my 1 rep max for like triples or, like in 5s or something like that. They would try to hit their 1 rep max all the time if they're seeing like RPE 9, because they had to be there. They're not doing that, they're going backwards. Versus building up momentum from training block to training block. You really need, especially with bench press, you need to take, zoom back, look at that one training block, but also look at the ones that are coming as well and where you're building to. You don't just want to be looking at those 5 weeks and going, fuck, I better hit a rep PR or new 1 rep max in this 5 weeks. I better see some major fucking changes. No, it just doesn't work like that. You want to be able to build inside of that training block and see yourself making gradual progress so that on the next training block, you can carry on that momentum into the next training block, which carries on the momentum to that peaking block before you do comp. If you're 4 months out from competition, or when you're testing your new 1 to 3 rep max, which you should have a date in mind when that's happening, you don't need to be testing it and getting close to your 1 rep max for fucking 4 months out. There's a lot of work to be done between then. You need like 8 to 10 weeks of like a strength cycle and a peaking block. So those top end numbers, if you're doing like top sets, etc., they don't need to be hitting 1 rep maxes in that first training block. You need to be your strongest over here. So you use them as a way of lifting heavy and practicing the skill of lifting maximally. And then finally, giving yourself 2 to 3 back off sets at lower intensity with more volume after those top end sets is a really smart move. And what I would often do with lifters is give them a top end set of 1 to 3 reps and then start that first 1 or 2 weeks just finding out how close they need to be to that top set in terms of weight on the bar and percentage. So some people, would be able to handle a nice top set pretty close, fairly close to their 1 rep max, but then they would just get buried if they would take, say, 10% off. So some of those people needed 15, 17%. Like normally I'd find that with the men. A lot of the women could handle their back off sets a lot closer to their working sets of the day. But I found to make sure that you're not going over on not adding too much volume to already those more frequent days that you're benching, 2 to 3 sets is a starting base that you can do and look at on each of those training days. So I hope this helped. Now, if you need your bench looked at, if you haven't hit a PR in a while, just like I did, and you're interested in wanting to learn how to bench more, I'm not going to sell you anything. Send me a video of your bench press and I will send you a review just like this with some actionable tips explaining what I believe is potentially going wrong in your 1 rep max, and what you can do in terms of maybe you need to be benching 3 days, maybe 4 days, maybe you want to utilize Larson pressing or close grip or fucking tempo or 3-second pause, and give you some ideas as to what you can do for your bench and start to build momentum towards a PR. If everything works out there, I want to find a couple of people that I can give a 5-week training block to with these methods applied. I've built kind of templates from lifters that I've used in the past and the ones that people have hit PRs on, and then see which one you kind of align in and test it with you. So if you'd like that, message me on the Black Dan Barbell Instagram page or leave a comment here. And I'm going to do you a favor there. Do me a solid just by liking this page, liking this post. I think you subscribe on YouTube. Subscribe to the YouTube page, like this post. Hit me up on the Black Dan Barbell Instagram if you want a free review of potential free 5-week training program. And if you would like to see any videos broken down of, say, the Larson pressing, anything in lifting that you're not quite understanding, send me a message as well, and I will work on getting those over to you. That's me for my first Instagram. First YouTube one. I'll see you soon.